All right, so the other day, Joe Rogan had on Derek from More Plates, More Dates, which is like a men's health fitness channel. And this is also the guy that exposed the Liver King for using steroids. So Joe obviously wanted to talk about that because that's a big news story recently. And then they also started talking about actors that they think could be using steroids to get jacked for movie roles, like The Rock and Hugh Jackman and Chris Hemsworth. And Joe wants to see them be more honest with what they're taking, because no matter how hard you work in the gym, you are not going to look like this at 50. And it's especially wild with The Rock because I think this is as big as he's ever been. So I don't think anybody's really buying that he's completely clean, especially not Joe. Joe seems to think that there's no chance this guy could be clean.
Does The Rock say he's clean?
He has implied it pretty heavily, but he also doesn't end up in scenarios where he gets asked point blank, whereas Liver King goes out of his way to fucking lean into it and use it as like a marketing spiel.
The Rock should come clean right now. He should make a video in response to the Liver King video. I need to talk to you. Because The Rock's been lying.
Yeah. No, yeah,
There's not a fucking chance in hell he's clean.
No.
Not a chance in hell. As big as The Rock is, at 50?
I wish The Rock would go on Joe's podcast, and I want to see if Joe would actually ask him these questions, like if he's on steroids. I think The Rock almost did it earlier this year, but then Joe started to get canceled, so he had to back out or something like that. But now that Joe's talking about him doing steroids, I doubt he'll even want to go on the podcast. Because also, I think he probably has to sign some NDA with whatever company he's working with where he can't talk about it. I'm sure that's part of the deal. I did find this from an interview in 2005 when somebody asked him about it, and he basically just said that he was doing it in college for like a month or something, and he wasn't even sure what he was doing. So the one other thing that I saw that he did, and he admitted to this, which is just weird, like I don't know what the deal is with this, but back when he was wrestling, I guess he had some surgery done where they removed some fat from your breast.
Do you know that The Rock has lipo on his breasts?
What does that mean, Rock? What are you talking about?
Is that because I heard you're willing to admit that?
Oh yeah.
You got lipo on your breast?
No. I had like extra fat here, and I had it taken out.
Maybe I could get that. How's that work?
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
The scars?
No, not at all.
Oh, look at that.
You had breasts?
You had bitch.
The Rock breasts?
Rock had lipo on his breast?
Yeah. There's like little deposits of fat.
Did you wear a man's ear?
But that's what you call breasts. They're deposits of fat.
No, honey.
Hey, The Rock's being very, very blunt about all
Did you
this
see
stuff.
how John was crapping his pants when he said, I heard you're willing to admit that?
All right, so now let's get back to Joe. He starts talking about why these celebrities should be more open with what they're taking.
I mean, this is okay, but there's some better videos of him where it just, shows this preposterous physique that, there's a responsibility that you have to people that are listening to you. And if you don't want to talk about it, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you do talk about it, there's a responsibility that you have to people that are listening to you. And I think you have to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm honest about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking hormone replacement. I think it's actually wise. I think it's healthier. I feel way better than I did before I was doing it. But you got to be honest.
I think Joe should make a deal with The Rock. If The Rock comes clean about with what he's taking, then Joe will come clean about his height and tell everybody how tall he really is. And if he wears lifts in his shoes. Is that going on? This is what the people want to know.
What do you think an A-list actor should do if they were asked point blank in an interview on like a movie? Like they're promoting a movie that they just did where they just peaked their physique and it's clear to the person who's can discern what's going on.
Like Thor.
Yeah, let's just say Hemsworth is in an interview.
Yeah.
What do you think he should answer when he's asked point blank? Like, did you use any enhancement?
Well, Mickey Rourke did.
Did he?
Shout out to Mickey Rourke. Yeah, when Mickey Rourke did The Wrestler, he told everybody. He's like, I think he did one of those shows, like Letterman or Colbert or something like that. And he was like, I was on a ton of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I talk a lot of stuff.
Because there's definitely an argument.
Mickey's kind of wild, though,
Yeah. There's definitely an argument to be made that when you have such an impressionable and massive audience, that if you say this is what it took to get here, it very much could influence the trajectory of certain younger men who are trying to aspire to be like you. So, like, I see both sides of the coin for sure. So it's kind of an interesting scenario for some of the actors because I think just unspokenly some of these interviewers know to not ask the question.
Right.
But, like, it's just an interesting scenario in which I would wonder what the best answer as if it's just point blank yes.
Well, let me tell
when they're
you a
grilled.
case. There was a guy who got really jacked for a superhero role, and he did a friend of mine's podcast. And he said to him before the podcast, I'll talk about anything, but do not ask me about drugs. I just, please don't talk to me about steroids or drugs. It was the number one thing he did not want to talk about.
So I was trying to figure out who Joe's talking about here, and my best guess is this guy from Silicon Valley, who I'm sure you're aware got extremely jacked, and everybody is talking about it, and I'm sure he got kind of annoyed by it all. So I'm sure he wouldn't want to talk about it. Also, I think it's him because he's made a good amount of podcast appearances. I'm not sure which podcast Joe's referring to here, but this is the only jacked celebrity guy that I could think of that's not like an A-list celebrity who doesn't ever do podcasts, because Hugh Jackman, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, I don't think they really ever do any podcasts. So now Joe starts talking about how he thinks the studios probably don't want them talking about it, how they do steroids, which is definitely true. Because if The Rock came out and said he did steroids for whatever superhero movie he was in, that would be a huge news story. People would flip out about that. But also it's too bad they can't just be honest about it, so people are aware that this isn't just some natural thing that you can work out and take supplements and you're good. Like, you actually have to take some serious shit. It's kind of like the male version of the Kardashians, because the Kardashians are always denying having surgery and they act like this is just what they should look like, even though that's complete bullshit. Just look at Kylie. Her look just completely changed within a year or two, and it definitely was not natural. I don't think anybody's buying that.
I think studios and the massive amount of money that's involved in a film, like the one thing they don't want is to jeopardize any of the potential income, right?
Yeah.
And if you come out and say, the only way I got this way for the Hulk is I had to take massive amounts of steroids, and this is just how it is, people are going to get upset. Oh, you cheated. And there's a mentality as you go further down the line that people are less and less educated about the realities of fitness and physiques. As you go further and further down the line, there's a mentality where people are like, Barry Bonds cheated, Mark McGuire cheated, those are cheaters.
Or Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, Lance Armstrong cheated.
Yeah.
And they're just uneducated. And unfortunately, we're playing to that. And
yeah, so I don't know what Joe really means at the end there, because those people did cheat. Like, you disagree with the rule, but one of the rules for those sports was you couldn't take that drug, and they did it, so that's technically cheating. And it obviously helped them at a sport where their competitors probably weren't taking it, or maybe some of them were and they just didn't get caught. But I mean, that's cheating. I don't know what the hell Joe's talking about here, but maybe I'm just uneducated, like Joe said. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about all these celebrities maybe taking drugs. Let me know what you think about Joe Rogan's height. Let me know how tall you think he is. And then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.